Hi, how you doing? And welcome back to the video on the channel. What we have for you today is our wildcard video going into Game Week 21. And whether you think now is the right time to wildcard or not, maybe it will have some good ideas for transfers that you could get into your team that you might be considering. And you never know how the double game week's going to go. So this team might change depending on whether some double game weeks are announced. So if you are going to make some transfers, I would suggest, unless you're really tight on your budget and you can't afford any price rise or drops, to leave it as late to the deadline as possible because that's when you'll get the most information. If you are new to the channel, please do like and subscribe. We're on the road to 60 subscribers, so if you can help us get there, that would be greatly appreciated. And thank you for all the support from everybody else so far on the channel. It's been absolutely fantastic. So we'll straight into our must-haves, and we're going to start with Sanchez from Brighton. Now, Brighton have actually only conceded more than 2 goals, only 3 times in 20 games. And Sanchez has been involved in bonus points in 6 of those 20 matches. So he's kind of getting bonus points every 3 games, which is pretty good for a 4.6 million goalkeeper. He allows you to get in some more expensive players elsewhere, and Brighton's fixtures do look pretty good. Next up, we've got Dan Burn. Now, he's only 4.5 million as well, and only 2.5% owned. And this is on the assumption that everybody already has Trippier. I would feel like a lot of managers that are still playing will own Trippier. So how do you get ahead of the game? Well, you get in more Newcastle defenders. Newcastle from an attacking point of view have kind of stalled in recent weeks, but the defence is as good as ever. And to be honest, even with those Liverpool and Man City games, I think you kind of need to start looking at Newcastle as a team that are just as good as those teams. I think we've had enough of a sample size so far this season where you can rely on them consistently from a defensive point of view. Next, we've got Odegaard, and I would say he is just too cheap not to get in here. 26.7% owned. And that means, yeah, there's a quarter of managers have him, but it means three quarters of managers don't have him in. I think, you've probably already got an Arsenal midfielder in. I think doubling up is a good option, and I've even expanded the fixtures there on the screen just to make a point of how good Arsenal's fixtures are in the midterm. I know they've got Man City, but that is just one game week, and Arsenal have already shown that they are a fantastic team this season, and they look to be doing it consistently. Next, we've got Kane, more owned, but I do think 15 league goals, and I think you're able to go in big in the attack because of the excellent mid-price midfield options. In some cases, it's almost difficult to spend all of your transfer budget because there's so many good value options out there. I think Kane is definitely somebody where he's worth the price. And he's not even the most expensive player out there. And they've got Man City for the rest of this game week, and then from that point on, they've got Man City in game week 22. But the fixtures, other than that, look pretty good. Onto the team we go, and obviously we're going to start with Sanchez in goal. Talked about him already. I do think Brighton's fixtures look pretty good. I've actually gone with the triple up in defence for Newcastle. I think, if you're looking to get that edge on having just Trippier, why not triple up? I know it's kind of like if they concede, you're in a bit of bother. But how many times do your defenders get you 1 or 2 points anyway? You might as well just go all in. They've got 11 clean sheets, I believe, in 20 games so far this season. That means over half your games you're going to get clean sheets if they continue that form. They've got good fixtures coming up as well. And, the way our team is shaped on this wild card, you have got the scope for transferring 1 or 2 of these defenders out if you don't like the look of a Newcastle clean sheet into the midfield, and we've got the double Arsenal. We kind of talked about how good their fixtures are. I think if you were to get 2 in at the moment, Odegaard and Saka would probably be the 2. Martinelli is maybe going to have some minutes taken by Smith Rowe. That obviously remains to be seen. But if you've not got either of these in, I would say get them in. If you've already got Martinelli, you might want to keep him. But if you've got a space in the midfield, these should be the 2 you're prioritising. If you've got the budget, you could go for Saka. If you've not, you could go for Odegaard. It's your choice. Into the rest of the midfield, we've got Matoma from Brighton. He has got 3 attacking returns in his last 3 games. I think he's someone now that Trossard is maybe out of favour. He's probably going to play a lot more of a key role for Brighton. And Brighton are another team like Newcastle. Kind of look, we're getting over halfway through the season now, and if you've got players from a team that are sort of high mid-table, you kind of think, well, how big a sample size is enough? You know how because it's like when Leicester won the Premier League. You know, people were thinking, oh, they're going to run out of steam, and they never did. So, at what point are you going to get on the bandwagon with some of these teams and just kind of accept that this is maybe as good? You know, they're this good for the duration of the season. We've gone with De Bruyne in the midfield. Now, there's quite a lot of big hitting midfielders that aren't quite firing at the moment. De Bruyne is somebody that, yeah, Man City aren't on all form, but I do think that if you've got the funds, I think he's somebody that could go on a hot streak at any point. He's clearly the player that makes Man City tick, and I don't really see a downside of owning him if you can afford to. Finally, in the midfield, we've got Rashford. He kind of speaks for himself. He's on such great form, and he tends to be scoring goals late in games. But that means that Man United are attacking late in games, and I think that's a great sign that they're going for the win. They're full of confidence. I don't see why you wouldn't just have him in. He's a similar price to Odegaard, just about 7 million mark. So I think you can really cover a lot of bases with these mid-price midfielders. Into the attack, and we've got Kane and Haaland, both premium attackers, but I don't see a problem with that. I think if you've got De Bruyne, Kane, and Haaland, you're probably looking at dropping De Bruyne first before you look at dropping Kane and Haaland. They are just goal machines this year. You could argue that Haaland is maybe struggling as a result of Man City's form, but at the end of the day, they're Man City, so history tells us that they will turn it around. I don't hate captaining Kane instead of Haaland, but I do think the home fixture for Man City against Wolves, even if you think Wolves are maybe turning a corner, it's a bit dangerous to bet against Haaland when the fixtures are quite close in terms of who they're playing. Onto the bench we go, and like we said with the Newcastle defenders, if you don't like a triple up on Newcastle, you don't have to play them all the time. But Crystal Palace are a game where I would say, yeah, I'm totally comfortable with Newcastle playing three Newcastle defenders in my team because Palace are the sort of team that are a bit out of sorts and they don't score lots of goals. If they were playing somebody like Man City in a couple of game weeks or maybe even Liverpool, you might take out one or two and put in somebody like Ben White or Luke Shaw. His team is quite well rounded in that respect. I know we've got Greenwood on the bench, but he's your third bench player. How often do you use him? So I think that rotation option is quite good for the defenders. I don't mind a five-player midfielder. If you think Brighton maybe have a bit of a tough fixture, then you could maybe swap Matoma out for White or Shaw as well. And you're never going to really want to swap out Kane or Haaland. So how many transfers are you actually going to want to make in your team, or how many substitutes are you going to want to make? So let me know what you think of this team. I actually think it's set up pretty well. Is triple Newcastle defence too bold? Is that going in too much? Or is it a good shout? Be interested to see anyone's thoughts. Maybe you're not wildcarding, but maybe you're looking at making one or two transfers, and hopefully this has helped you out. If it has, do subscribe to the channel. It's greatly appreciated, and I will see you in the next one.